Hi, and welcome back. Okay, you've seen the title. I'm going to disappoint you, though. I haven't installed Pro Tools to investigate because, seriously, there must be at least one Pro Tools user that knows how to do a proper null test, right? And if that null test shows no difference, that settles the matter, right? I'm once again seeing people claiming that a null test isn't definitive in this regard, and I'm losing patience with it. Honestly, go and join the flat earthers. What you're suggesting is no more plausible. It occurs to me now that some of you have no idea what I'm talking about. Congratulations if you managed to avoid it so far. Short version, someone famous claimed that Pro Tools level meters affect the sound, and that some metering settings sound better than others. It's interesting to note that the claim was specifically only for real-time playback, and that the differences don't manifest in an offline bounce. To put that another way, he can't hear those differences when he isn't watching the meters. Anyone else think that might be significant? Now, some of you may be thinking, who does this upstart YouTuber think he is, criticising a titan of the industry with a wall full of gold and platinum discs? Where's your wall of platinum discs, Dan? Well, it's true, I'm still working on that. I've just got the silver play button so far. At least that's good for impressing my son's friends. But here's the thing. It's possible to be very good at something without really understanding what you're doing or being able to communicate it to someone else. And by extension, the best practitioner of a discipline isn't necessarily going to be the best teacher of that discipline. After all, if you have an amazing natural talent and an instinct for what needs to be done, how would you teach that to someone who may be less gifted? I had to learn how everything works because my mixes sucked to begin with. Why would I bother learning that stuff if I was already knocking out killer mixes anyway? I have occasionally been described as a genius in the comments. Hyperbole, I know. I don't take it too seriously. But honestly, maybe it's the opposite. Perhaps I'm only good at explaining technical concepts because I have to break them down into bite-sized pieces before my own rather plodding and pedestrian brain can comprehend them. Also, bear in mind that all those industry titans with well-decorated walls learned their trade back in the analog days. And this is still kind of analog thinking. If you patch a device into an analog signal chain, then yes, your signal is physically passing through that device, and it's entirely possible that a bypass or clean pass-through might not actually be completely clean and transparent. Digital audio is different, though. The numbers can be duplicated infinitely with no loss. If something is intended to be a transparent, clean pass-through, but isn't, well, that's just a bug. And if you can reliably demonstrate that issue with a failed null test, you should expect that bug to be fixed pretty quickly. With regard to plugins, I don't think it's even correct to think of your signal as passing through a metering plugin. I'm not a developer, but I think I have some viewers who are, so feel free to correct me on the following statement. The plugin does not receive an audio signal, which it then has to pass on to the next plugin without error. Rather, it gets a pointer to a buffer of samples. All a metering plugin has to do to be 100% transparent is to make sure it's only reading from those memory locations and not writing to them. It has no responsibility to pass on the data unaffected. The audio can't be compromised by cheap components or poor quality control. The code would have to actively overwrite those memory locations that it was only supposed to be reading. In the extremely unlikely event that such a bug did creep into the code, I would expect a rather embarrassed developer to fix it immediately as soon as it was discovered. So anyway, one of those things that I had to learn while trying to stop my mixes from sucking was human ears are not scientific measuring devices, and nothing that we perceive is actually real. The signals picked up by our ears are significantly processed and interpreted before we get to actually hear them, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about that. Nor, I think, should we want to. A little anecdote. I drove my son to a football match on Sunday. They were playing away, we hadn't been there before, so I used the sat-nav. Halfway there, I suddenly became aware that the sat-nav had said something, but I'd drifted off into my own thoughts and missed it. So, I mentally rewound that bit of audio in my head and played it again. What did she say? Oh, second exit, fine. How did I do that? I don't know. I have a human brain that can just do that kind of thing. I don't know how it works. I'm assuming that all of you can do similar things, right? Likewise, you can all listen to a mixed stereo waveform, but perceive it as separate drums, bass, guitar, vocals, etc. You're doing perfect, artifact-free stem separation inside your head. How do you do that? In fact, it goes beyond just stem separation. Human brains can pull out any arbitrary element, focus on just that, even transcribe the notes with the correct musical training. That was actually my job. Way back in my 20s, I spent 3 years programming MIDI versions of mostly pop music, entirely by ear, before I burnt out and went back to mixing live bands. What I'm saying is, human brains are seriously amazing, and we barely understand what's going on in there. When I say that a famous and successful person has almost certainly got this wrong, I'm not saying that they're dumb, or that I have better ears, or anything like that. On the contrary, I'm acknowledging the awesome processing power of their brain, which can incorporate the information from their eyes without them being consciously aware of it at all. Because we can no more separate what we hear from what we see than we can what we taste from what we smell. So anyway, I'm giving this a 98% probability of being bollocks, which will shortly be disproved by a null test, a 1% probability that it's a bug that's currently being fixed by a red-faced developer, and a 1% chance that the famous guy was just trolling us all along. Alright, a quick little postscript. Apologies for the radio silence recently, especially for my channel members who are all waiting patiently for more ear training videos and mixed feedbacks. Unfortunately, Crohn's disease is a bitch, and the treatment has so far either done nothing or made me feel worse. Apparently, we haven't run out of options yet, so hopefully we'll get there in the end. Meanwhile, I've been taking it easy and trying to recuperate, and I figured I'd ease myself back in with a low-effort, talk-only video. If this one goes okay, maybe I'll try ramping it up with a plugin review or something. Thanks for your patience, meanwhile, and thanks for watching.